Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rick Starr. I'd like to welcome you to this special Golden Speakers Toastmasters event. We have a very good, very funny guest speaker tonight. You're going to enjoy him. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the Toastmaster, the Master of Ceremonies for this evening. Jean's been a member of Toastmasters for a long time, has been a member of Golden Speakers for a long time, and is currently the president of our club. Please join me in welcoming Jean Symington Craig.
Welcome, everyone, for coming out tonight. It's an Iowa winter evening, but somehow nature has avoided the blizzard with us. We have a little bit of fog, but it's not raining, it's not pouring down, it's not sleeting. I mean, it's just great. So really great that you guys came out tonight. So thank you. We want to check and see something first before we get started. We have a full program. We want to see what maybe brought you in here tonight, because we put out a fair amount of material in various ways, shapes and forms, because everybody looks at different things. So we want to just run through and see what's working. So one of our big outreaches was the Fairfield Weekly Reader, on the poster page on the back and then the article. So if that was something that you saw that got the juices flowing a little bit, raise your hand. And if it's more than one thing, we'll get to that too, because sometimes you need to have a couple of bites of something before it kicks in.
So if we just saw the ad, and maybe it was several
Somehow a
things,
little bit of neuronal activity started happening enough that I might want to put that in my calendar to come. So raise your hand. And we have someone who's actually going to count this. Which hand? Is that what you said? It can be either one. Okay, good. Okay. All right, next. We had a wonderful interview on Crew with Melinda Arndt last week. Anyone catch that? Either when it happened or on the... Well, yes, we definitely have two people. Yes. Oh, we have three. Yeah, we have Rick. Yes, good. Do you have an archive section?
Do you know, right now there's a glitch on the station computer. I don't know if it's archived. I was told today when I asked about listening to something else that they haven't been.
Okay.
So I'll find out, but I kind of doubtful.
Okay. Well, he was originally scheduled for 10 minutes, and they got on such a good roll, it went 20 minutes. So it's a really good thing if the archives get resurrected.
I'll check.
That would be great. Okay, what else did we have? Oh, we had flyers. We had a bevy of flyers all around town. How many people saw those? And again, got a little bit of scratching going on here, itching. Is that that? Okay. Facebook. We had Facebook invites and events out there for people. So Facebook event, Will's counting. Were people at the caucuses last night? You getting tired of being counted?
We're ready to stand in the corner.
Yeah. Okay. So we have Facebook and then, okay, so how about personal invite? Somebody invited you to come. Okay. Okay, so let's count that. Personal invite is probably one of the most powerful tools because it's that social sharing that gets people to come. Do you have your number? Okay. And just finally, maybe this would kind of be along the line of a personal invite, but an email that someone sent to you encouraging you to come. It's kind of a personal invite, but with an email format. Okay, so we have two. Okay, fellow Toastmasters, is there any channel? Is there something else that triggered somebody somewhere that, yes, in the back?
Yeah, it was the photo of him and the vibrance of his smile.
Oh, okay.
I'm single.
Yeah. Okay, wasn't that a fabulous photo and poster and everything?
Also, it was the 3 C's of communication.
The content. Okay, what we're going to be doing tonight. Okay, great. Okay, so we had an engaging title. We had a knockout photo of our speaker. And, now you get to see him in real life. This is good. Okay, is there anything else? Anyone else? Yes?
It was the topic in the resume.
The topic and the resume.
Not so much the three, or I shouldn't say the topic, it was the description of his resume and what it includes and what his work is.
Okay, and that was in the paper?
That was in Facebook.
Facebook, yes. Okay, so good. Well, I promised Kory we were going to really get the word out. It looks like we did. Okay, all right, good. So thank you very much for letting us get some feedback from you on what works and what helps you get in. Now, we've kind of blown it because I was going to introduce our next section as we're going to be doing something a little different, table topics. And I was going to say, well, our guest speaker's still trying to get here from, all the blizzard and stuff. But we had this funny guy walk in who said he was more than game to do this. However, now that we know he's the guy in the photo and everything, I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to introduce him a little more thoroughly when he does his keynote speech. But I'm just right now going to hand it over to Kory. I have no idea how he's going to do this. But let's warmly welcome Kory May.
Good evening. Table topics are an opportunity to talk extemporaneously. Life sometimes throws things at you, and you have to be able to deal with them. With the caucuses being around, sometimes ordinary people, just like the two of us, or all of us, would be interviewed with absolutely no preamble, no warning at all. You have to be prepared because we're Iowans, and people on either coast may develop an impression about who Iowans are. You've got to be ready. Like I said, sometimes life throws things at you. This is our table topics ball. It's a beach ball. I'm going to lob it to somebody, and when you catch it, whatever question is under your thumb, left thumb, under your left thumb, that's the question that I would have you answer. Please stand up, state your name, read the question, and give a brief answer. This is going to engage us in two ways. First of all, it's physical activity. And second, it gives us the opportunity to think and answer a question. For those of you who don't want to participate, please at least put your hands up so it doesn't bounce off your head. Jean, I'm going to toss this to you and have you toss it back to me, and I will demonstrate. There will be discuss, demonstrate, and do. So we are now in the demonstrate phase. So please throw it back. Left thumb. What was the most valuable thing you owned when you were a child? The answer to this question is my parents. Once upon a time, I wanted a G.I. Joe. And at that time, a G.I. Joe was $7. Back in those days, $7 could buy you a whole bunch of groceries. I'm much older than I look. I wanted a little black G.I. Joe because we didn't have them in Iowa City, where I was born and raised. So I left with my aunt, who promised me that I could have a little black G.I. Joe with the kung fu grip and the little furry hair. I was very happy. I packed up everything I owned into a suitcase, including winter clothes. This is in the middle of August. I rode my suitcase down the stairs and promptly hopped into my aunt's car. Several hours later, my parents realized I was gone, but I had my G.I. Joe. The caveat to that was that my grandmother would be seeing us all at the end of that week. So I was with my aunt, we went to Gary, Indiana, then we went all the way to the southern tip of Illinois. And I had my G.I. Joe. I was very happy and very thankful for it until I realized that I needed 2 G.I. Joes in order to have a battle. And I didn't have that, and my auntie wouldn't buy it. And I missed my parents so much that I cried. I cried every day for 5 days, and I missed my parents. My grandmother tried to bribe me with homemade ice cream, a chocolate cake to die for, and money, and I didn't want that. I wanted my parents. So the most valuable thing I owned when I was a child was my parents. Life sometimes throws things at you. Put your hands up. Left thumb.
Oh, I see where it is. Ooh.
Question number 32. What was the most valuable thing you owned when you were a child?
God.
Mulligan. You can do it over if you want.
G.I. Joe.
Did you have the other G.I. Joe?
No, I didn't even have a Barbie doll. What age group is considered child?
10 and under.
10 and under.
Under 16?
Yeah, whatever.
You can do now if you feel like it. You've got time.
Well, I got that as an adult. But actually, the most valuable thing was something that, like you, I probably prayed for mightily. And since I had a birthday in December as well as Christmas holiday in December, my parents dug deep into their pockets when I was 9 years old and got pony. Really? So at that point in my life, it was definitely the most valuable thing I owned, but I was 100% responsible for it, which meant all of a sudden I had to get up earlier and beat the school bus because I had to go water and feed the horse, the pony, first before I could get on the school bus. And my mother said, you know, I may drive you to school the first time you miss the bus, but you're going to have to walk from now on. So it was probably one of the most important things in my life that taught a child to be responsible and how to manage their time.
Go ahead, Jeff.
All right.
I should have held out for a pony. Left thumb. Hey, you can't read the questions that you're writing. Left thumb.
Yeah, just go for it.
First of all, you probably won't understand me because I have a New Zealand accent.
No, it's good.
Left thumb. If you could be any colour in the Crayola box, what colour would you be and why?
I love your accent.
Well, first of all, I don't actually own or know a Crayola box, but I assume that they must have all the colours that's possible.
Crayons.
And I think I'd choose the colour brown, because if I was in New Zealand at this moment, I'd have a suntan.
My memory's tiring, and my question is, if you were unlimited by money, where would you vacation?
Whoo!
Wow.
Well, there are a lot of places I would like to go. Unfortunately, I don't have enough money to go to hardly any of them. But the places I have been that I really like, I would probably go back to and stay longer. I think some of my favorite places in the world that I've been so far are down in far south Missouri. Beautiful floating fishing streams down there, spring fed, clear, clean. And that's probably where I would spend more time if I had more money.
There you go. Hey, let's toss it over to this side. Rick!
If your house was on fire, you could only rescue one thing,
Ah.
not a person or a pet, what would it be and why? Being a modern man, pretty hip person, I would definitely rescue some type of electronic device. That way, when my neighbors started to text or to Facebook that my house was on fire, I would know it. I'd go to my device, I'd see my house was on fire, and I'd be able to leave. So not only are electronic devices good for us, bring us pleasure, they're very practical, as you can see. Thank you.
We've got time for 2 more if they're short.
Do we have time? Do we have time?
I think we got time to do 2 more if they're really brief.
Well,
Yeah, go for it. Yes.
Left off.
Yes, left thumb.
Hey, you're moving
Hey,
your
3 of
left
them.
thumb.
I'm moving it to read.
Oh.
What fashion trend do you wish would come back? My name's Art Atkinson, and my wife's laughing because she knows me well. What fashion trend I wish would come back would be that nobody paid any attention to the issue. We've developed this theory that men's clothing ought to be issued with a tag inside the internet which had an expiration date on it. Unfortunately, that idea hasn't taken hold anywhere that I can detect so far. But I have rarely, if ever, paid it. It just has never been in my awareness to be concerned about fashion and what's trendy in clothing. And I always have to get better advice from people who do think about such things. She's really good at it. And there's many people who pay a lot of attention to it, and I just cannot understand that. It boggles my mind that people pay all the money that they do to be trendy and that they worry about the subject at all.
You go.
My name's Diane Fenwick from Australia. If you were given 24 hours to live, what would you do? That hardly gives me time to jump on a plane and go home and see my mum and my kids and once in Japan. So I would. No, I'd have to do that. Okay, I would do that first. I think I could just do it in under 24 hours. I think I'd better take some kind of device with me so I can talk to people and say some farewells to the people that I really love in my life. But I think I want to somehow I want to be leaving a legacy so that I sort of inspire people with what I've been passionate about. So it will be on a spiritual level. I think it would be I'm almost going to say donating my worldly goods to the pundits, or somebody that can carry on and bring about world peace. I mean, my money. And maybe I would, I don't know, it's hard, isn't it?
And that's it. What I want to demonstrate and take away is that all of our answers involved other people. All of our answers brought us up, and we talked, we shared. That's one of the major things about communication, is that we're sharing between people, we're opening up and giving of ourselves. This is going to come in handy in a few minutes, but I'm not going to give away too much. I hope you had fun, and if you were uncomfortable, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Or maybe it's not the easier it gets, the less difficult it gets. Yeah. Get comfortable, because life does throw things at you. And sometimes you need to have your hands up and catch them.
Okay. We didn't send anybody screaming out of the room on that one, so that's a good sign. I just thought one housekeeping detail, I just did it for myself. If you have, and we had a comment about devices. If you have your device, go ahead and put it on off or stun or whatever it is needs to be on. But quiet, quiet is a good thing so that we don't interrupt. Good. I don't know, the latest ones do have that stun feature. You guys have that? It can come in handy, actually. It can come in handy. All right. And Dewart and Donna, if you want to just take a seat. Thank you I think we've got everybody sort of in the room right now, so we can get you enjoying. All right. Well, I have the pleasure of introducing officially now, our speaker for the evening, Kory May. Kory May is a longtime facilitator and speaker. He incorporates humor and laughter into every presentation. We've already had a little taste. His focus areas are storytelling, leadership, humor, and change. Kory is, among other things, a multiple award-winning public speaker, recently winning the Iowa State Toastmaster Championship in both the humorous and inspirational speech competitions in 2014 and 2015. That's the year. It's a 2014-2015 year. What are some of those other things? Well, he's a distinguished Toastmaster, which is, I like to say, it's the PhD of the Toastmaster arc of accomplishment. He is an award-winning leader. He likes baking, eating just enough, I don't know what that is, and thinks ice cream is an underrepresented food group. Recently, Kory joined the Blacklist improvisational comedy group. Blacklist, that sounds good. This was a therapeutic response to the comments of his older siblings who told him alternately he was either made of silly putty or raised in a barn by wolves. His day job is technical and boring, But he balances this with regular forays into reading, writing, yelling at the television during games of various types, and of course, leaving laughter and mirth in his wake. Combining improvisational comedy techniques and therapeutic laughter exercises, Kory will remind you that sincere laughter and mirth are gifts that are easy to pay forward. Please welcome the tall guy with the short name, Kory May.
I usually don't do PowerPoint, and I'm not really going to apologize for using this, but let's try that again. It did work. It's doing something. Yes, it's coming up. Nice. No worries. No worries. Yeah, we're gonna need lights.
Need lights off.
Oh my gosh.
Rod.
Have you ever sat in a business meeting and seen a slide like this?
No, thank goodness.
Felt.
If you have, what did you take away from it? Good answer. Really good answer.
Eye strain.
Exactly. So, I want you to think about this. Every time you speak, you enter into a relationship with everyone in the room. Let me say that again. Every time you speak, you enter into a relationship with everyone in the room. If we were on Facebook, this would be the designation, it's complicated. You can bring the lights back up. Thank you. A lot of times, when we're in meetings, we see slides like that. Or we hear things like this. One moment. It's important that we move the needle on this scenario. If we're going to gain some traction without upsetting the apple cart, we need to peel back the onion and stay laser focused on our activities. There's a lot of synergy with the team, and that's great, but let's reach for more than the low-hanging fruit. At the end of the day, our value proposition has to be fully baked in the minds of our partner. We're not trying to boil the ocean. This team has gone through so much change, it's like they're constantly drinking through a fire hose. We need to drill down into the numbers and make sure that we are aligned in such a way that going forward we grow the business. Calibrate your expectations to leverage building capabilities and impact our brand. If we can break through the clutter, our headlights will help us herding cats through a paradigm shift. Finally, before you start drinking the Kool-Aid, sometimes to close the loop with our end users, you may have to eat your own dog food. What? Every time you speak, you enter into a relationship with everyone in the room. My relationship with you is now built on trust. You've seen me throw a ball at someone's head. You trust me. You heard me sprout gibberish and jargon, and you saw me give an interesting explanation of a very complex slide. You trust me now, right? Good. The whole point of this speech is to give a meta view from up here. I want to teach you what it's like to be up here. And in doing so, we're going to share some thoughts and ideas. All the prep work that I do for a speech, I want to share with you so that you are able to reach out and connect with your audiences. Again, every time you speak, you enter into a relationship with everyone in the room. I will keep on saying that to reiterate that point. So what we want to do first, we want to figure out what your audience needs Then the second point is, why do they need that? And third, we're going to answer, how do you give that? So tell me, who's the most important person in the room right now?
Me!
You.
You? Who? Are you saying me? No, I'm not. It is Tom. Tom is the most important person in the room. Tom is correct in saying me. And that's not the royal me. Well, that is the royal me. Well, you are royalty. It's all of you. Every person in the room, when you are giving a presentation, is important. And you have to key in to what their needs are. Everyone has a personal radio station, WIIFM. Are you familiar with that? What's in it for me? Thank you. The most important thing that I can give to you is to meet your needs. And if I don't tune into WeFM, we're lost. If I communicate to you consistently in jargon like that, how fast are you going to reach for your cell phone and start looking up your Facebook status? Or for those of you in the back in the dark corner, that's a way that you disconnect yourself from your audience. When we reach out for the WeFM, it builds trust. I'm putting myself behind you. I give you information, and that's important. What your needs were to come in here transcend my need to be up here and making people laugh by a little bit. What's important to you, again, is having a takeaway and being able to leave with your life better than it was when you walked in the door. And I hope that I can help you just this much. If it's more than that, bonus. But if not, I've failed you. Have you ever given a presentation where someone said, I just don't get it? I just don't get it. And have you ever felt frustrated with that person? Don't get frustrated with the person. Take that feedback and hone your message. The clarity, the responsibility of the clarity lies with you as the speaker. It doesn't rely on the audience. You have to find WIIFM. Find that frequency, tune into that, and once you've tuned into that, that's when you're communicating. Jargon doesn't work. Can anyone tell me what that meant? Any of it. Exactly. I've sat through meetings where the jargon flowed like the Mississippi. Long, stinky, and a waste of my time. The next point, again, that's the first point. The most important person in the room is you, your audience. The second point is going to be, why do they need it? Our brains lock up when we deal with data. So I could give you lots and lots of facts and figures and tons of statistics, but behind every statistic is a story. There are two parts of your brain that light up when you are dealing with data. Bronas and Wernicke's. There are two parts of your brain that light up when you deal with statistics. Data. You can only deal with so much data before your brain shuts off and you start becoming skeptical about numbers. And there are two parts, and that's Bronas, there's an area in your cortex, Bronas, and Wernicke's, and they both crunch numbers. However, when you engage someone in a story, the whole brain lights up. My mom makes the world's greatest lemon meringue pie.
Oh.
Gorgeous lemon custard, wonderful crumb-style crust, and tall, beautiful peaks, browned to perfection. Browned to to perfection. In an oven. Can you see it?
Yes.
Can you smell it? Is your mouth watering? You want a little bit of that? Absolutely. That's the power of story. That's the power of the connection that you can have as a speaker. What happens about that lemon meringue pie is based on the description of that lemon meringue pie. Your brain's indexing every single lemon meringue pie you've ever seen, heard about, smelled, or tasted. And not only is it indexing that experience against the mythical pie that I've described, it really does exist. She doesn't make them anymore. I'm sad. Wait, I've got to think about it too. Okay, so not only are you indexing your experience against this pie, you're experiencing every other pie experience as well, thinking about, well, hey, maybe my auntie's rhubarb pie is better than that one, and I really want that one too. That's the power of story. It activates mirror neurons in your head, which makes you experience what I'm talking about, makes you feel, makes you empathize, makes you desire. That's what your audience wants to feel. They want to feel connected, and this is how you connect. So let's get to some important parts of this, the 3 C's of communication. Before you walk up here and give a speech, your audience is looking for credibility. And credibility is everything that you do when you're not up here. I could tell you, I'm an organizing genius, and my whole house is meticulously planned with files, and everything has a place, and every place has a thing. And you could go to my car and see that it's not quite that way. My credibility on that particular topic would not be real. You have one shot to be credible on something. Then when people find that you're inconsistent or incongruent, you lose stature. And then you have to either work to maintain it, if you're being true and congruent, or you have to work to rebuild it, which is a whole lot harder than doing the right thing. Credibility, the first thing. I could tell you all the things that I did in speaking, and if they were untrue, you would know quickly. And then you'd be pulling out your phone, getting ready to update your Facebook status. Geez, this guy is bad. Have my beer waiting for me when I get home. I'm leaving after the break. Instead, because Jean's hyped me up so well, you're going to stick around a little while longer. Put the beer on ice. We'll be okay. The second C is connection. Have you ever had a boss who told you what to do without knowing what it is that you actually do? Have you ever had an older sibling who bossed you around and told you to do a chore and she'd never done the chore? She'll never see this video. That's connection. If you don't understand what your people are doing, you cannot ever bridge that gap. And that will jump back to your credibility. He has no idea what we do. And in a workplace or even in a familial situation, to be incongruent, again, poses a problem. You have to be able to connect with your audience and let them know, hey, I understand, or to borrow a Clintonism, I feel your pain, or I feel your joy, as the case may be. If you are unable to do that, your audience is going to pick up on that, whether consciously or subconsciously. We all have kind of indicators that let us know, hey, I can trust this guy, I feel comfortable, or no, I don't trust him, there's a little something shady about it, maybe it's his tie, maybe he's too fashionable. I heard you. I don't have born on dating on this suit. I felt you were almost talking to me personally. Just kidding, just kidding. It's okay. So if we don't ever make that connection, then our words are simply words and our audience loses our connection. If we don't ever make that connection, the audience can't have that connection. If we don't ever make that connection, what do we have? Every time we speak, we enter into a relationship with everyone in the room. Finally, the third C, I should say the third C rather than finally. The third C is convincing case. Every speech can do only one of four things, or all four things. You can either inspire, entertain, persuade, or inform. And at the end of all of those, you have a call to action. Did you make the case for someone to change a behavior? Did you make a case to have someone do something for you? Did you? Were you able to do that? If you were not, then again, you've fallen short. So what that also means, what that means to us is making a convincing case. This is my skill level, or this is your skill level, and what you want to accomplish, and this is where that intersects with your audience's desire to make a change. If this is flawed, guess what? This outcome for your audience becomes flawed as well. Now, shucks, that was bad advice. I don't want to take that. Or it's good advice. I can internalize that. I can make a change. I can make a difference. Does that make sense? So this is the intersection of your information and your skills and your audience's desire to make a change. Every speech does only one of four things. What are they? Entertain, inspire, persuade, or inform. Inform. Or inform. Sometimes we do performances too. Don't worry. That would be like sub-number. That's where we are. Those are the three C's. How do we get to a place where this slide doesn't happen? I don't want to see that again. Or how do we get to a place where the jargon is eliminated? I use this from Procter & Gamble. That's where I work. It's eliminate, combine, reduce, and simplify. How many of you cook? Okay. Do you ever use tomato sauce and reduce it? And you keep reducing it, and what does that do? You get rid of water and it becomes more potent. That's what we're trying to do. When you eliminate sloppy PowerPoint, you combine thoughts, you reduce jargon, and you simplify your speech. You're speaking to everyone. You're able to clue in more on the we-FM of your audience. You've built up your credibility. You've made a stronger connection. And finally, you are able to make more of a convincing case. Those are the three C's. ECRS is how you get there. If I had more time, I'll tell you more, but we'll see. Looks like my time is up right now. I'm willing to take questions, and then I will tie everything back up in a bow in just a few minutes. Raise your hand if you've got questions. Yes, ma'am.
Can you just repeat that last thing?
ECRS?
Eliminate, what you said after eliminate. You
Okay.
said something really good. And I didn't get it.
Wait for the video to come out. Eliminate. What, was I doing this demonstration here? ECRS right there?
Just right now.
Oh, okay. ECRS. It eliminate, combine, reduce, and simplify.
Okay.
And that allows you to work on your credibility. It enhances your credibility. It builds your connection with your audience, and it helps you make a convincing case.
And
Yes.
is the difference between eliminate and reduce, I mean, those are kind of close. So eliminate the obvious and then reduce the next little things?
Let's go. For me, this was directly from Procter & Gamble. Oh, the acronym was, but I used it. Eliminate jargon, combine data points to create stories, reduce PowerPoint slides to mnemonic devices, and simplify your language.
Oh, okay.
Eliminate, get rid of it entirely. Reduce means
Yeah, cut that.
reduce, cut back. Yes?
What's the most effective memorization technique do you use?
Oh, wow. Did you ever see Sherlock on PBS? Okay. There's a grand old Greek thing called a mind palace. And you can memorize things any number of ways. A lot of times you envision a structure, and when you envision a structure, you put rooms together, and in those rooms on a shelf you would have particular things. It's kind of complex, but the easiest thing for me is when I'm doing long-term memorization, I kind of put it in my mind palace. When I do short-term memorization, repetitions.
Thank you.
Left hand or right hand. Next person. Further question? Yes?
How long have you been speaking to groups, and were they small groups or
Oh,
large?
I've been speaking, well, my parents put me out in front of people when I was a little kid, so 4 or 5. And then I've been speaking, I was a high school debater, which was a great thing in many respects because I don't have a whole lot of fear of crowds or groups of people. And I love policy and statistics and things like that. The greatest thing was to unlearn that and figure out how every data point had a story, because every statistic has a human being behind it. And that was the hardest thing for me to do. So now I've been speaking since 9 years ago when I joined Toastmasters. And now the largest group I've spoken in front of, 250, 500 people. It's fun. At least to me it's fun. Yes?
Could you say a little more about turning data into stories?
Okay, good. Ooh, okay, we're right up against it. I'll answer this last question. Turning data into stories. It depends on what statistic that you get, all right? So when with Google, you get a statistic and then you can start to drill down into, boy, there I go using jargon. You can start to mine that, dig it out, and start looking for who did this, who was in this. And that when you start to find a human face, that's when the story has more power. Or that's when that statistic has more power. We can't conceptualize of 6 million people. I'll talk about the Holocaust for a brief second. We can't talk about that. We can't conceptualize that. But we can talk about one person who survived. That's why the Diary of Anne Frank is so powerful, because that reduction makes it so potent. And did that answer it?
It's a good start.
I'll talk to you after during the break, okay? That's the end of my time for questions. I will be around for the break. But again, let's reiterate what the 3 C's are. First,
Credibility.
second, third. Okay. As you leave from here, I want you to remember this. And this is the power of your language, the power of your speaking. Because every time you speak, you enter into a relationship with everyone in the room. Whether that's your mom, your boss, your children. You're in a relationship with them every time you speak. Your words have power. Your words have meaning. And please, for the love of Pete, recognize that. Those are relationships here. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Jean.
Thank you, Kory. And as Kory mentioned, after we're done, we have goodies and things we can break out and practice our connections with each other, and he will be here to talk a little bit more informally that way, so that'll be great. We're going to do what we do in Toastmasters, which is evaluate our speaker. So what that means is, this is another kind of muscle that we use in Toastmasters. No matter how professional a speaker is, that person is always going to be wanting to hear, was there something I could have done a little better? In someone's opinion. So when we evaluate, someone gives an opinion, and we have some criteria that we use, and then Kory can take that and think, yeah, the next time I talk to a group on these points, I might want to incorporate that. That was a good point. Sometimes we do this, sometimes we don't in these big events, but we want to do it tonight so you can see, because we do this every week. When we have people get up and they do a project, a speaking project, and then they have their own personal evaluator who gets to tell them things that they did well, make suggestions on the next time you did this, you might want to try doing it this way. It's all very supportive, it's not scary, it is supportive, and it is somebody's opinion. But if you start getting those kinds of comments, certain comments that seem to be the same and from more than one time, that's maybe something that you want to pay attention to. You know, if you're always scratching your leg when you're talking, and it's not something you really think about. But you know, it's just a thing that you do, and you get an evaluation that you might want to not scratch your leg, and you go, well, I'm not scratching, it's okay. But then if you start getting it from other people, yeah, you not only scratch your leg, but you scratch your arm. You're just scratching, and everybody in the audience is starting to itch. Then you might want to take that in. So that's the kind of thing. It's very helpful. So with that, we have one of our members who's been selected to be an evaluator. That we asked for a volunteer, everybody step back except him. So, because it's hard to evaluate a really good speaker, but we really hold with the principle that everyone can hear something that they might either want to improve on or might want to try a little differently next time. So, Mr. Evaluator, are you ready to be up here? All right, so please help me warmly welcome our evaluator for the evening, Dan Craig.
Thank you, Jean. Ladies and gentlemen, so glad to see you all here tonight, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Kory. As Jean said, an evaluation is my opinion of what I saw in Kory's talk, feedback on what I think he did well, maybe something I saw that he could perhaps improve. The first thing I'm going to mention is his content. Two things I want to talk about, his content and his delivery. The content is what he presented to us. Was it valuable to us? Did he have it presented in an organized fashion? Did he engage our attention? Yes, yes, yes. He did very well in all those things. I particularly like that he started out with his slide and his jargon spiel to give us a humorous negative example. And then from there, he could begin to talk about real clear communication. So I thought that was a nice beginning. The other thing I thought he did very well was to have the central organizing idea that he repeated over and over, the phrase, every time you speak, you enter into a relationship with your audience. He said that throughout. And then we remembered that we were getting information that was based on that central idea. We felt that his speech was organized because he kept reminding us where we were. Also in his content, he did a very nice job of giving us main points and illustrating each one. The 3 C's, that was the body of the talk. He explained each one carefully. He repeated them often enough so that he was sure that we were following him. So always he had us following along. The other thing I want to talk about is Kory's delivery. He's really a master. I don't know if you've noticed these things because everything he does is so smooth. But for example, did you see how well he used his hands? Or maybe you didn't.
Yes.
But he's including you, he's expanding the idea, he's giving us different frameworks, and those natural gestures work very well. The other thing that I think Kory is really good at is his vocal variety. And I noticed this particularly when he was asking questions of the audience, which, by the way, was another great content technique. He'd ask the question generally in a louder voice, more of a staccato phrase, and then he'd step back, talk a little quieter, a smoother phrase as he gave the explanation. So all those things pulled us in, engaged us in his talk. I think you'll agree with me that he engaged us very well, and he wrapped it up with a conclusion that made us realize that when we are aware of the power of our words and we keep that in mind, then we can really cultivate that relationship with our audience. 2 quick suggestions, all I've got. The first is just a little technical thing, I guess. Trust the projector. You tested it before, you knew.
Trust me.
And the last thing was, I was a little lost when he was talking about the intersection between the audience's desire and the speaker's ability to communicate. And it was probably just me, but if you could work a bit on that technique and that explanation, I think that would help. Thanks so much for a wonderful talk.
By the way, everything we do in Toastmasters, it's not just being a great speaker, but it's doing it on time or within certain time parameters. So Kory is an experienced Toastmaster. We have these lights that are turning different colors. That's something that's very standard. But we're paying attention to that because it's not just what you say, but how you say it and within the time frame that you are given. Okay. Let's see, what's next on our agenda? Okay, I think we're moving quite, just where we need to be. I'm going to introduce Louis Denbaum. Louis Denbaum is going to, we have some people in the audience that are going to come up, and we have a sort of a special little panel that we're going to have Louis Denbaum, who's one of our senior,
Oldest member of the club.
longer members, and was our immediate past president, who's going to conduct this. So Louis, why don't you go ahead and get your group together, and everyone can, let's just stand, kind of get the blood slightly flowing here. Yeah, stretch.
They're all going to bring their own.
Yeah. Okay, you can do a couple of arms over the heads. Get some stretching. Okay. Breath, deep breaths, all that. Yeah. If your neighbor needs you to scratch, between the shoulder blades, you can do that. You can reciprocate. And if you haven't said hello to your neighbor yet, of course, that would be a good time to do that now. Say hello. Talking about connections.
I better not be scratching.
Yes.
Oh, we'll definitely not scratch each other.
Okay. You guys ready? Ready? Okay, that's enough scratching. That's enough scratching.
Ready to go. Take your seats.
No more scratching. I don't know why we're scratching and itching tonight. I don't know what that is. That's just the theme. I know. Wow. Okay.
I didn't itch.
So, Louis, take it away.
All right. So I've chosen 4 members from our club of varying lengths of membership in the club, and I'm going to ask them each 2 questions. First, I have Donna Lindley.
you.
Donna, you're our newest member. You have just given your first speech. Please tell us what brought you to Toastmasters and what did you have to overcome to give that first speech?
It might not surprise any of you, but fear. Big time fear. I'm basically an introvert and a shy person, and most of my friends are very talkative, and I'm the one that's sitting there listening. And so when a friend of mine heard my talk, she says, "Oh my God, Donna, I was so shocked. I didn't even know that was inside of you." And so it's really an incredible experience to be an introvert and to be so shy. And then all of a sudden, you're up in front of people and it's like something beautiful happens. It's like you become more yourself than you ever knew that you could possibly be. And I remember someone saying to me, he was in acting class, and he said, you know, to act is to be more yourself than you ever were before. And that was just an extremely profound statement for me. It's just, what was the question? The other part of the question?
I think you've answered it.
Did I answer it?
You're doing a
Okay.
great job.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Our next member is Andal Krishna. My question for you, Andal, is what brought you to Toastmasters and what challenges are you facing giving speeches in English, which is not your native language?
Good evening, everyone. To answer the first question, what brought me to Toastmasters, is first thing I would say, my professor, when I was doing my master's, she really motivated me. She was basically teaching us biotech, but she was also a public speech trainer for some of the corporate companies in India. So seeing her, I was really motivated to be at least to give a public speech sometime. And the other motivator I would call would be my husband, who was a former president of Toastmaster Club here, and of course my kids who were did participate in youth leadership program, which was conducted by the Toastmaster Club here, and Jean was the trainer. So my kids, I've seen my kids and my husband grow so much from this club. So now they speak a lot. I can't stop them, so I have to really compete with them. So I really took the step forward to come here and become a member. Thank you.
Okay, let's not strangle each other with the mic choir. Emery Styron, as a long-time newspaper reporter and editor-in-chief, how has Toastmasters served you?
In several ways. I was for years the editor, publisher, reporter on community newspapers in Missouri and Iowa. I went through Toastmasters training in a town near Kansas City back in the early 90s. At that time I was not a very confident person. I did need in my job to speak to groups of employees, to make speeches or talks at civic clubs. I was president of a Rotary Club down there. And the Toastmasters training I went through at that time helped me with that, and has continued to help me. Now I'm semi-retired just as a freelance writer, and I'm finding that Toastmasters works well. With that, it's another way to tell stories. And I find that articles I'm working on for various publications become the subject for good speeches, and it's a way to get two things done at once.
Our next panel member is Stuart
Oh, good idea.
Stroud. There you go. Okay, no injuries, we're doing good here. So, Stuart, you have completed all 10 speeches in the first Toastmaster manual called The Competent Communicator. Now you're working in advanced manuals. What keeps you going in Toastmasters? Why do you want to keep going after doing the basic 10 speeches? And what are your personal and professional goals in Toastmasters?
Oh, in answer to your first question, I have an obsessive nature. There's always room for improvement. When I was young and belligerent, I hung out with a man who was educated in England and spent a lot of time in New York in theater. And I used to throw my arms around a lot and just make noises in place of words. And he stopped me and he said, "What is all this?" And then he said, "Stuart, people judge you by the way you speak." And that was a moment of horror. And that is always with me. I can't remember which of the Stoic writers it was. I think it was Seneca in Letters to a Young Stoic. He talks about having someone, like a moral guide, or someone, imagine someone who will be with you and judge you all the time, every action, every time you speak. And so that's my friend Richard. I'm like, oh my God, I'm giving this presentation. And so when I give a presentation, I'm always thinking afterwards that I could have dropped that word, or I could have inserted this. I could have made more eye contact. In the beginning, I would focus on one person, then I was focusing on two-person. I was reducing my movements of my hands, less itching. That wasn't me. But you become more focused. And I could go on about that, but in response to the second question, what are my goals? I'm very interested in freedom of expression, and in the world, extremism is on the rise. And anytime free expression, freedom of speech is curtailed, then people start obfuscating. Then there's all the stuff that's boiling underneath the surface. So we want people to, whether it's good, whether it's bad, we want people to fully express themselves. We want to have the full dialogue so we can know who to keep an eye on.
All right, back to Donna.
You can tell we have no fun in this group. Boring.
So keep it close to your mouth. Yeah. Closer.
Closer.
Yep. Right. There you go. All right. So, as a member of Toastmasters, would you say being in Toastmasters is more work or more fun? And elaborate.
Okay, well, obviously you can tell how much fun we have. Obviously, you know.
It's an ice cream cone, you just don't quite lick it.
Like an ice cream cone.
Obviously, you can tell how much fun we have. It's a really delight to be here because you can tell the uniqueness of each one of us. And that's just really a delight to see everyone, who they really are, and get to experience them. And
Is it fun or is it work?
it is a lot of fun and a lot of work. The writing is real challenging because I realized when I was writing this exactly what Kory May said. I had to tighten things up. I had to make sure I was making the emphasis that I really wanted to make. It was delightful when I found out once I did do my talk, I got the reaction that I wanted from the audience. That was just, I was just beside myself. I thought, I can do this?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
all right.
I noticed it.
Anda, part of Toastmasters involves being evaluated. How do you feel about that?
Going back to my previous question, I remember I didn't answer your second question, second part of the
Yes,
question.
but you can do that too.
Yeah, I will do that first and then
Okay.
the second question. Being English not my native language, I wouldn't say it bothered me much, more than coming out of my comfort zone and to give a speech in front of people. That was the most important for me, to get it out from me and then to give a speech. And the other part would be like when I'm giving speech, I would run out of words and not know what to speak next to bring up what is next. So that's first half of the first question. And answering your second question, while giving my speech, I never give attention to my evaluator or even think about that I'm going to be evaluated. But at the end of the speech, it's always good to hear a positive comment about what speech you gave, and that motivates me to go back and get ready for my second speech. And at the end, they also tell us about the areas which need more attention. That again motivates me more to get ready for my speech, because to pay more attention to the part where I need to really concentrate and get my next speech improved. So I think it is good to have an evaluator. It's always motivating me.
Very good.
Thank you.
Emery, you drive 30 minutes from Mount Pleasant every Tuesday night to be with us in Toastmasters. Tell us what's motivating you. Other than the fact that your wife kicks you out of the house.
Actually, my wife works on Tuesday nights, so she's not home, or that might make it a little harder to come, and sometimes it is hard to come over. But joining Golden Speakers has been a kind of happy accident for me. I knew I wanted to improve my public speaking skills, and I looked around for a club. We do not have one in Mount Pleasant. There's one in Burlington, one in Washington, one in Fairfield. They're all roughly the same distance from Mount Pleasant. I thought that the one in Fairfield might be a little more open and dynamic. I thought the other clubs might be maybe a little more of a closed group. Don't know if that's true, but I've just been delighted by the reception in Fairfield. It's such a friendly, open, cosmopolitan group. We have people from Nepal, Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, all over the world, and then it's really broadening to be part of that environment. The structure of the club, it's a really high quality club. I was a member of another club years ago and have had some exposure to other clubs, hear about them around the district, and I believe ours is one of the top ones. So if you would choose to join this club, you're going to be part of a club with really strong structure and traditions. The most single important thing is that you have an audience. If you want to become a better public speaker, you have to practice, and you have a built-in audience, and then you have that structure of evaluation and good support, and different roles to play, and you're going to get better if you participate. But it is a commitment, one well worth making.
Thank you. All right, Jordan, you're our cleanup man. You're the last person in the panel tonight, and I want, what hasn't been said that you think our audience needs to know about Golden Speakers, Toastmasters in general?
When you join, learn to enjoy the mistakes. They're the guideposts, the signs leading you to greater and greater successes. You're in front of people, you have your prepared presentation, and it doesn't come off like it's supposed to, but you live through it. And then maybe you get a better idea, you find the better word. The new thing that you have to think of on the spot will ignite that person in the audience. You just don't know what people are capable of, and that will set them on fire, and that person could blaze a pathway for other people, so you just never know how you're going to impact people. So enjoy those mistakes. And there's never put a limit on what you think you can be, and you have these exceptional people that will push this space out for you to grow in.
All right, let's hear it for our panel, all four of us. Anna, Ando, Kory, and Lewis. Thank you. Thank you,
So I think you can tell what I was thinking a little more about that last part, because I was speaking like that.
I want to see do or do Shakespeare, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
I love to project.
Okay. Now I'd like to let Lewis, we're going to do a little bit of a closing here, going to get Kory up and have a little bit more chit chat with them. Okay, Lewis.
Thank you, Jean. Kory. So I have to tell you that Kory and I competed last spring in the state competition, and this guy wiped me all over the floor. He was stupendous, stupendous. It's true, it's true, true, true. So we've got about 5 minutes, and I've got 3 questions. So, thinking back to 9 years ago,
Yes.
what was your why for joining Toastmasters?
My why was I'd just gotten a divorce, and I'd left Wisconsin and moved back to Iowa City, and I needed something to do with my time. I could have hung out at the Ground Round eating peanuts and drinking beer, but I didn't. An old Toastmaster friend of mine said, "Hey, you should come and join Toastmasters." And he'd been saying this since the early 90s. "Hey, this Toastmasters thing, you should do it." I was like, "Psh, I don't need that. I'm going to do something different." Well, after the divorce, I ended up figuring out that I had something to say, and I needed to find someone to talk to. And it wasn't necessarily a therapy thing, because I'd get charged for that. But Toastmasters gave me a captive audience, and there were people who were paying to join Toastmasters, and they could hear me too. And I realized at the same time that I could hear other people as well. And lots of those folk with whom I joined ended up being better friends, and I've ended up, much like Deward said, getting ignited by things that they said. I've competed a lot, but the first thing that I learned was that Toastmasters allows you to grow at your own pace. It allows you to hear different styles of speakers. It allows you to entertain and titillate guys like, exactly! There you go. There you go. I've got stories about Tom. I competed a while back, and I wasn't sure how my speech was going to go until I opened my speech and I said a one-liner at the very beginning, and I got Tom's honk. and what was even better was that the opening line was so good that I got 2. It was like honk honk, and I was like, got it! I knew I was in good air at that moment. So I get to meet wonderful people like Tom and Cindy. They're wonderful people, and I love them dearly. And again, as you go through Toastmasters, should you join, you will be joining a community, you will be joining a family. No matter where you go throughout the world, you will see meetings that are generally very much like what you would see at Golden Speakers. And you will have a home away from home. I can't tell you what that means. If you have to relocate, you will automatically find a home if there's a Toastmasters Club. It's home to me.
All right. Thank you. So looking back on your Toastmaster career, what are 2 or 3 recommendations you can give people just starting out?
Dewar really nailed this one. Enjoy your mistakes. That's the only way. If you've ever baked cookies and chocolate chip cookies, and you've added melted butter instead of room temperature or chilled, and you get a different result, it's still a chocolate chip cookie. Suffer through it. Suffer through the indignity of a flat chocolate chip cookie. That's what this is. You're never going to be as perfect as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are, and you're never as good as you can be. Embrace the mistakes first. Second, it's a growth process. You're going to fall down, get back up. You're going to hear things that you may not necessarily like, because we always think we're great. And there's somebody who will tell you, that was okay, but you can do better. Embrace the feedback that comes in too. No one here in Toastmasters that I know wants to grind you under their boot. They want to see you improve. They want to see you get better. They want to see you achieve whatever goal it is that you have set. It's a support structure. It's supportive. If you've got Lewis on your side, that's power. Jean, Rick, Tom and Cindy, you've got wonderful people surrounding you. And again, like I said before, it's part of a community. They're not going to steer you wrong because other people didn't steer them wrong. And it's all about what you want to do. I don't necessarily have to tell you to join Toastmasters because it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But I want you to join Toastmasters because it will help you improve communicating as well as leading other people. You will learn how to be a disciple. You will learn how to be a leader. Sometimes you have to be a follower. It'll tell you how to be a better follower. It'll tell you how to be a better leader. It'll help you communicate better. It'll help you get the song in your heart out. Because every time you... Wow. Forget y'all. You sat through all that. You didn't pick that up. Every time you speak, you enter into a relationship with everybody in the room.
All right, last question. We have just a short amount of time for this. So you are a distinguished Toastmaster.
Yes.
As Jean said, the PhD of Toastmasters.
Yes.
You've won the state championship 7 or 8 times. You've competed in the world championship. Okay. So you're like in the top 1% of all Toastmasters in the world. That's how I kind of figure that out.
Never considered myself a 1%.
You are. You're there. How's that feel?
Well, it's huge. It's huge.
All right.
Sorry.
That's
Had to
good.
get that out of my system.
Okay. So what's next for Kory May?
I will compete again.
Okay.
One of the things that we'll talk about communicating, and then we'll also talk about high-performance leadership. High-performance leadership projects are something that Toastmasters do on their journey to get their DTM. I have one DTM, and I'm working on a couple of others.
DTM.
That's jargon. That's jargon.
Sorry. Distinguished Toastmaster. Yeah. And what I've come to realize is that when you do your high-performance leadership project, the first time, you're just happy to get it done. But if you're going to do something a second or third time, take on a bigger project, take on a bigger problem, take on something that's really going to stretch your leadership skills so that you can make a difference. The first time that I did a high-performance leadership project, it was doing a Toastmasters Learning Institute in the Quad Cities. And I brought together both District 19 Iowa and Western Iowa, Western Illinois 54. I brought in 4 state champions in the international speech contest. We had speakers from Iowa. We had the speaker from Iowa. We had the champ from Western Illinois. We had the champ from Chicagoland, and we also had the champ from Wisconsin out of Milwaukee as well. We brought them all together. They all gave their first speech, the speech that qualified them to go to the World Championship of Public Speaking. We gave them feedback, and they also gave us the speeches that they were going to do for the finals should they make it. One of the years that I did this project, we had a gentleman out of District 30, Chicago, named Press Vasilev. Press had been in Toastmasters, and Press ended up winning the World Championship of Public Speaking. We heard the very rough draft, and I gave him feedback on the speech that helped him win the World Championship. That's what Toastmasters is. That's what Toastmasters does. It's a supportive environment where my interest in helping you is secondary to the idea that you need help. You are an ally, you're not an adversary. You are a friend, you're not an enemy. You are my brother or my sister, not some distant cousin.
I want to say something about what Kory just said. So, you know, there's a Yiddish word that says mensch. You know that word?
Yes.
Okay. This guy is a mensch. So last spring, I competed in the division championship, which is one step before state. I won. Kory was in the audience there. And knowing that I had won, that means I'm going on to the state championship. He came out of his seat, came up and congratulated me, and then he proceeded to tell me, hey, he asked permission, which is a real menschy thing to do. Would you like some feedback? And then I said, yes. And he critiqued my speech to make it better so I could compete at a higher level against him. I still lost, but that's what he's talking about. We're in this to help each other get better, and that's the most important thing. It's not about winning or losing. It's about improving and being together in that improvement process. So, thank you, brother.
No, thank you. Wait, before we get there. I know you got things to say. Lewis came in with a great speech, and I saw a way, hey, can I tell you a way that you can make this just a little bit better? And he took it like a mensch, okay? And what I mean is that he said, yes, by all means. He was interested in improving. You don't get medals, you don't get trophies for wanting to improve in here. Sorry. Your wife might see that, that's on video. You don't get medals for wanting to be a better person in here. But what he walked away with was my respect, because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to say, yeah, I want to learn how to get better. I want to hear your feedback. But my esteem rose for him because he took feedback, he listened, he didn't argue, he didn't fight. He said, yeah, I see that, that could work. Maybe that's not going to work, but it worked. And I'm very proud of him. That's one of the reasons why I came down was Lewis is involved with this club, as well as Tom and Cindy and Jean and Rick. I love y'all.
Go! Thank you. Let's turn it back to our Toastmaster, Jean Symington Craig.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. Couple of points. Has this been good?
Yes.
Has this been good? All right, good. Somebody said it was difficult and it was also fun. So that was Donna.
Yes.
Didn't she do a good job?
Yeah.
You know, when she first came, she sat in the chair closest to the door where we meet, and she confessed. She said, it's because I knew I could get out if I needed to quickly. Just so you know, it is, you don't improve unless you actually apply. So that is in the piece. But you don't have to be a perfectionist. Many of us are. But you don't have to be. It just has to be good enough. So when I joined, I did not have any extra time. I said, this is going to have to be fun or it's not going to work. Okay, and I've only got a certain amount of time. So just know if you're busy, because many of us think, I can't fit another thing in. I am already way too busy. You just say, this is what I can do. It's going to be, I want to say hell or high water, but it's just going to, that's what's going to happen. And then, and it's amazing how you start to work with your own efficiencies and get better as you do that, knowing that you're not going to spend more than X amount of time on it. Okay, so, and you also move at your own pace. So there's nobody leaning over your shoulder saying, you know, what's going on, where are you, what, you know, so you move at your own pace. But that's what I did. I just went, you know, I just can't put any more pressure on myself, so this is just going to have to be fun, and it's going to happen in the time that I have, and we'll just see how that goes. And then here I am 10 years later, so. Also, another point is Kory's a public speaker. We have a lot of people that are interested in public speaking. But my point would be that communication happens in all sizes. Kory did reference familial. You have church organizations, you have civic organizations, you have homeowners associations, you have school boards, you have all these little places. So the numbers of people doesn't really matter, but everything that Kory said applies for whatever size communication you're in. Husbands and wives matters. You have to connect. Where's my husband? He is right there. Didn't he do a good job too? Yes. Okay, so if you're interested with Toastmasters and our Golden Speakers Club, so we're going to run Emery. Where's Emery? Emery right there, our editor from Mount Pleasant, our freelance writer now, is our vice president of membership. We have applications in the back. I just want to, so he's the one to touch base with S's. He's got someone, Jyoti Raj back there. You know, it's basically something to fill out. What does it cost? People always ask. It's $54 every 6 months. I mean, that's a huge thing for a personal development program of this caliber. We collect it 6 months at a time. And when you join, there's a one-time $20 new member fee that gets you processed into the system, plus you get your starting manuals and materials. So you get your new member packet, and you're off and running. Okay? So that's it. I mean, that's $9 a month. You break it into 4 weeks a year. No, what is it? 4 weeks a month? Caucus blasted here. Yeah, so you can do the math there. Also, if you'd like to do some research, we're here every week. Now, we are not here at the library. We meet over at the Hy-Vee, west side of the store. We always say it's at the end of the ice cream aisle. Kory. We're over there in that community room. You're welcome to come. Follow up will be there next week, et cetera, et cetera. In the meantime, if you want to look at Toastmasters.org, that is the international global website. There's all kinds of information in there. You can just go in there and dig and dig and dig, and there's videos and all kinds of things. So, can be done 24/7. You know, take a look. All right. Okay, so I think we're done. I would like to encourage you to stick around in order to entice you with that. We have some munchies and some foods, and you know, we just all really appreciate that you've come out tonight. Kory will be here. You can pepper him with all kinds of whatever you want to talk to. And I'm going to just go ahead. We have a hammer here. This is one of the best parts of being the president, is that you get to close the meeting with this resounding hammer. All right. So enjoy. Glad you came. Hope we can see you again. Meeting's adjourned.